TV Crazy Man here. In this video, we took a look at mind-boggling goofs and amazing fun facts from the much-beloved classic TV cartoon series, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Before we get into the goofs, we have to acknowledge that Rocky and Bullwinkle is a show filled with funny gags, almost every second. So there is the likely possibility that some perceived goofs may have been intentional, but then they probably would be happy for us to point them out. Just more publicity, as Jay Ward would probably have said. So let's see what we can find. In the very first episode, the number of Bullwinkle's keys keep changing, but that's not really the disturbing part. They hadn't quite figured out where Bullwinkle's mouth should go yet. It looks like he's talking out of his nose. Here's an example of where Bullwinkle's mouth would appear usually. You see, normally his mouth is under his nose, not on top of his nose.
Oh, that is pretty ridiculous, isn't it? But it's bad enough.
The man you love to hate.
Also, Boris started out almost as tall as Natasha, but by the second episode, he had shrunk a lot. Which brings us to the second goof, which I think caused Boris to become much shorter, as a safe falls on his head. Notice the broken underground pipe is broken before the safe hits it, which you would likely assume should be the cause of the pipe being broken in the first place. Boris and Natasha are sleeping on the couch. When Boris wakes up, Natasha is gone. But then later we see she is really still sleeping on the couch.
Don't you believe it?
Here's a real mind bender. A travel agency window is not broken. Then it's broken. Then Boris is shown throwing a brick through it, which seems to heal the broken glass. Then he sticks his hand through a solid window to steal 2 tickets. I wonder if the producer, Jay Ward, being the forward thinker that he was, set this up just for me to find and puzzle over. Back then when the show was made, spell check didn't exist, and who cares about spelling anyway on a cartoon, right? But it is interesting how spelling errors popped up, and it makes you wonder which ones were on purpose and which ones were real goofs.
All in fever say aye. All in fever say aye.
Rock around the clock.
Was it Rocky or Rock Around the Clock?
Rock around the clock.
We'll see next time in Go Down Mooses or The Fall Guy.
Was it Mooses or Moses?
We'll see next time in Go Down Mooses or The Fall Guy.
In Season 2, Bullwinkle proves he can talk without moving his lips while drinking water.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. You know, there's kind of an echo around here.
Watch this guard's uniform and glasses change right before your eyes.
They'll come back in the morning.
Will somebody see us?
I don't know, but I'll be off duty then.
I've heard of that, but I never really thought it happened. Right now, why not pull off the knob that changes the channels?
On NBC's original airing, Bullwinkle the puppet got fired for telling kids to take the knobs off their television sets, because thousands actually did it.
And that way you'll be sure to be with us next week.
Here's a standard practice in animation that creates a narrative goof in this particular episode. In order to save time drawing, animators would often use the same background over and over again as a character runs by. But in this case, the character, a potter, runs by his own potter's shop 3 times on the way home.
That voice, where is it coming from?
Now let's look at some history and fun facts from Rocky and Bullwinkle. The idea for Rocky and Bullwinkle came from Jay Ward and Alex Anderson, who had worked on Crusader Rabbit together. Only Crusader Rabbit got picked up originally. Rocky and Bullwinkle was originally known as the Frostbite Falls Review. Crusader Rabbit was syndicated from 50 to 52. It was in black and white and had very, very limited animation. Some parts of it were just narration and still images. When Rocky and Bullwinkle aired in 1959, Jay Ward had teamed up with writer Bill Scott to bring the show to life.
You sure you know how to work that thing?
The show ran under various different titles, including Rocky and His Friends, The Bullwinkle Show, and The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. The writing of the show was top-notch, of course, and clearly aimed for adults as well as kids. The series loved to spoof real-life historic figures, celebrities, and politicians.
Now hear this. This is Dorson Bell speaking.
On the very first episode, they spoofed Orson Welles' famous 1938 radio broadcast of the War of the Worlds, which sent the country into a panic over a fake Martian invasion.
Please feel free to panic.
Ah, allow me to introduce myself, you.
In the second season, they spoofed Elvis Presley's manager using Boris Badenov.
You all want to hear your teenage idol sing?
Boris was named after a Russian leader from way back in history that once worked for Ivan the Terrible, named Boris Godunov.
You were expecting maybe Ellen Font?
Boris loved to disguise himself as spoofs of famous people in history and fictional characters.
Sherlock Holmes?
Holmes?
OHMS is an electrical joke. J. Rabbit Up and Downer, world's greatest scientist.
They spoofed Zorro as Zero.
Inside is the president.
The president?
Yes, they even took a jab at President Kennedy for his thick hair.
We can give him the Kerwood Derby.
I don't know if it'll fit over all that hair.
Even the Maytag repairman wasn't safe.
So, small pigs the machine.
They got Jack Benny using his own tendency to knock his own failed movie, The Horn Blows at Midnight.
You could invite all the people that worked with you on that picture you made, The Horn Blows at Midnight.
My house isn't big enough to hold all the people that worked on my picture. Be much too crowded.
Well, if you don't want a crowd, why don't you just invite the people who saw it?
Well, how could a picture drop out of sight so quick?
Oh, I don't know. Remember The Horn Blows at Midnight?
What?
They also love to slip in producer Jay Ward's name in as much as possible.
For Your Honor.
For jaywalking.
That's Jay Warding.
They also like to mention the competition.
What, are you a spy from Hanna-Barbera?
I read in that particular clip that one of the actors actually did voice work for Hanna-Barbera as well. And when the show went on Sunday evening up against Lassie and started suffering in the ratings, they declared that Dudley Do-Right was played by Lassie's trainer, Rudd Weatherwax. As an ongoing gag, they changed the name of the actors playing the cast of Dudley Do-Right every week.
Bradley Whiplash, his occupation, warmonger.
When we left them last time, a scaly green hand was raising a sinister weapon and pointing it right at their heads.
Narrating for Rocky and Bullwinkle and the Dudley Do-Right segment was William Conrad, a man who was famous for his great narrative voice, and his detective show, Cannon, in the series Jake and the Fat Man. He also voiced Matt Dillon on the radio show for Gunsmoke and the Lone Ranger in the 80s animated series.
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty high of silver.
And that's just a small portion of the many shows and movies he took part in.
Where will it all lead?
Why didn't you tell me before?
I didn't think you'd believe me.
I don't, but it sure helps the plot.
Bill Scott did the voice of Bullwinkle, Dudley Do-Right, and Mr. Peabody. He was also the head writer and co-producer of the show.
Not very often. Why?
Rocky is an all-American Boy Scout.
June Foray did the voices of Rocky, Natasha, and all the other female voices that were on the show. Of course, Rocky was a boy squirrel, but you know. Paul Frees did the voice of Boris and various historical figures in Peabody's Improbable History.
What was that? Good heavens!
Boys, you said heavens.
Hans Conrad was the voice of Snidely Whiplash.
Come off it, Do-Right. They'll never know the difference.
He has a credits list a mile long.
Where did I go wrong, Do-Right?
He had probably the best villain voice of all time. He even did villain voices on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends back in the 80s. He did appearances on pretty much all the great classic TV shows of the 60s. But I'll always remember him the most from his appearance on Gilligan's Island as Wrongway Feldman. Hal Smith did various characters on the show, and Everett Horton from F-Trip did narration for Fractured Fairy Tales.
Once in a kingdom, there was a king who was such a great king that he was fit for a king.
Other voice actors on the show included Charles Ruggles, Dolls Butler, and Walter Tetley.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Check out my other channel, Freddy Cat Cartoons. In my latest cartoon, Freddy Cat runs into Demonic Man, Bigfoot, and Detective Sergeant Mo Friday. It's silly fun I hope you'll get a kick out of. Link will be at the end of the video.
Easy now. Easy. I don't want to hurt you. I like to think the feeling's mutual. Oh, I don't like that look.
Go, keep going. Well, it does. Well, it does when you consider that each one of them had a specific talent to contribute to a major...
Thank you, Mr. Spicer. You know, you could lose your license for this.
Let's live dangerously, huh?
Well, that's about it for today. Don't forget to check out all the playlists on the TV Crazy Man channel for tons of more fun stuff on classic television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've got tons of goofs and fun facts you may not have heard anywhere else, so check it out. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the new videos. Share your memories of Bullwinkle and Rocky in the comments. What did you like most from the show? Hit the like and have a great day.
Well, it looks as if our time is just about run out.
Oh, thinky foo.